anything is to show where your questions make the show. Without your questions, I do not have a show. This is for November 2025. I am in my 8th year of doing YouTube, and I have to tell you something. Doing YouTube for drum covers in 2025, November 2025, is a lot different than it was back in November of 2017, when I was in my transition, doing some consulting work, and having a great old time and had no subscribers. It was a different time. And over the last 8 years, I've built quite a little channel for doing drum covers. But you know what? Drum covers are dead. And you know why I know that? For the first time, I've had 2 months in a row where I can't get over 100 new subscribers in a 28-day period. I'm right now at 90 plus subscribers. I'll put it up on the screen when we do this. 90 plus subscribers over the 28-day period up. Now, for some of you who have very small channels, 90 subscribers is a lot. I get over 100 views on my videos, even if I put out a video that nobody wants to watch. And I put a lot of videos out that nobody wants to watch these days. But why am I saying this? When I started, I was at the tail end of the first wave of YouTube drummers. The Cooper drummers, the Cinnas, all those guys. Drumeo. I mean, when Jared started Drumeo, he was just a kid starting drum lesson business that turned into this huge thing today. And Drumeo is, I think he might have even sold Drumeo to Missouri, a bigger company, or he started Missouri. I don't know what the story is there, but clearly Jared's not as in the picture as he used to be on Drumeo. YouTube has changed. The world has changed. The focus of the world has changed. And drum covers, they're not as important. Even to the guys that watch me all the time and comment all the time and encourage me all the time. Thank you, all of you that do that. So what am I saying to you all? Well, I'm taking Ask Earl Anything today back to the roots. I'm not even sure I'm going to put screenshots up on the screen. I might put a few. But I'm going low tech. This is one camera. One camera, low tech, no microphones, no logic. Back to the way I used to do things. I've got a bunch of really nice questions that I will answer in the style I used to always answer, and as I've always answered, I should say. I will actually answer in the style that I've always answered, just off the cuff like I always do. Today I did a video. I didn't have a lot of time to do it. I had about 25 minutes to do this video. It was a Shane and Shane video. It is going to come out before this ever comes out. It was a worship video. For somebody asked me to play this worship song. I've been doing worship songs on Sundays. It's my new thing. I do that for myself and to basically proclaim Christ has risen in the world. You know, my expression of faith is Christianity. Jesus is Lord. I've been playing in church a long time. I have a very long relationship with the Lord. Spans over 50 years. And I just wanted to glorify God one day of my drum covers. So I've been trying to put out one on Sundays. Somebody asked me to play the Shane and Shane song, and I just basically put it on, set it up, put my ears on, played through it 4 times, and that's what you got. And I brought it down, and I realized it's exactly how I would have done it if I had to play it for church. Would have practiced it 3 or 4 times, went into rehearsal, and my parts would have basically got very simple until we played it a few times together, where it might have changed a little bit. But I didn't worry about getting all the parts exact, which I try to do on a lot of my drum covers, by the way. But drum covers aren't important. What people want to see is real, I think, now. Even though I do want to play some of the drum covers I do as close to the original as possible for a reason. Because I learned from it. That's why I do it. When I'm playing a Jim Gordon track or a Jeff Porcaro track, if I can play it as close to the original as possible, that's me learning from the track their vibe, their groove, their style, and which I love. But as you all know, whenever I play a drum cover, it's still Earl coming out. And Earl has to come out because Earl's influenced by all these great drummers. And ultimately, when you're playing drums with people, it's who you are that comes out based on the influences you've put in. So what I'm here to say today is, and I'm going to start with this, and I've got some questions, is that drum covers are dead. To be honest, I'm only doing drum covers for me now. I'm only doing Ask Earl Anything for the people that love to watch this show. I realize I'm not going to get a lot of views on this show. I've got a couple of Ask Earls that maybe have close to 1,000 views over the last 8 years, to be honest. And it's about the topics of somebody like Jeff Porcaro's name was in the header, and that's why I got so many views. To be honest, what I started doing early on was copying Terry Keaton. And Terry Keaton basically, Bonzolium, he basically was talking about Paiste cymbals one day, and I picked it up, and I said, oh, I love this, what he's talking about. And I watched him for a half hour. I just saw he did a video today. I haven't watched it yet, and I plan on watching it, where he said, I'm just talking about cymbals. He's going back to his roots because I don't think people are watching anymore. I don't think people are watching us play drums or talking about anything. Our YouTube algorithms are feeding us all kinds of other crap that we look at. No matter what it is, it's feeding it. And drum covers are not at the top of most people's lists. Now, that doesn't mean I don't have friends that are getting lots of views and their channels are growing leaps and bounds, but I'm not selling myself either. I have no goal here. I was just talking to my wife about this a few minutes ago. She has a little channel where she has to feel inspired to talk to the camera. I have to feel inspired to talk to you guys too. I can't talk to you unless I feel inspired. I was thinking of not talking today, but I do think the message I want to send today is, if I put out a lot of videos in a week, it's because I was inspired to play a lot of stuff. If I don't put out a lot of videos, it's probably because I didn't play a lot. Maybe I was living life. You know, the reason I had 25 minutes this morning wasn't because I couldn't have had 2 hours to do this. My granddaughter slept over last night. My granddaughter Ansley. And I said to Ansley, I'm going to take you out to breakfast. And because my wife had something to do as an appointment, we didn't get to walk this morning. So I said, Ansley, let's go for a walk. So we took a walk around the lake. And by the time all that was done, it was 10:20 when I got in here. And at 11 o'clock, I do yoga with my wife. My wife comes, we do a Zoom yoga class we've been doing since COVID with our good friend, Rich. And, you know, I said, you know what? I've got 25 minutes to cut this chain and chain track. Let's see what I can do. So I cut it, put the cameras on, turned the cameras off, did yoga, came back in here, listened to the one take that was good, that was complete, and that's what I dropped. That's the way I work. I like working fast and fun, but I could have spent hours on that. I could have done maybe 2 tracks in the amount of 2 hours. I do that a lot. But who cares how many tracks I do, because nobody cares to watch these things. I'll be lucky if I get 90 views on Chain and Chain, because the Christian stuff, if it gets over 100 views, that's a major plus for me. If I do Supertramp and I get 200 views, I'm happy. And if I do Kiss and I get 500 views over 5 days, that's great too. But you know what the funny thing is? When I look at what's what's really pushing my channel, I do have some statistics in this 28-day period, and I will put this up on the screen. Here's the videos that are pushing viewers watching my channel. Sweet Caroline, Neil Diamond. Sweet Caroline, Neil Diamond, I had 939 views of that. I don't know why that song is so darn popular. I must be one of the only guys that plays it pretty close to the original, or I'm at the top of the list because I've got like 40,000 views of that thing. Booker T and the MGs. This is a short, a YouTube short. Time is tight. 645 views. That short is in the stream. I've made shorts a bunch of them. They don't get in the stream. That's the one that's in the stream. John Lennon, Woman. I played that years ago. 592 views in 28 days. This is one that guys like to write things on and say, you didn't play this right. Against All Odds, Phil Collins. Which is funny. And the other one that got in the stream for the 28 days, 502 views, was I Was Made for Loving You, Kiss. So after 5 days, it got up to 502 views. Now it's in the stream. So I don't know how long that'll last there, but it's just interesting when you look at what's driving views to my channel. And most of my views come from people that don't subscribe to my channel. So I am getting pushed out there because I got 2,000 plus videos out there. So it's got to do something. But the bottom line is drum covers are dead. The drum cover community is not what it used to be. Most of my friends post once in a while. I don't promote anything. I have James Lyon to promote me on Facebook. Thank you, Jimmy. James Lyon will put my one of my videos up on Facebook, but I don't put it on Facebook for a reason. I don't want my family and friends having to watch my drum covers. I don't do that. I don't promote on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. I actually shut Instagram down. Never did TikTok. YouTube's it. That's it. So what am I saying? If you see a lot of me in a week, it's because I was inspired. If you don't see a lot of me in a week, it's because I wasn't inspired. Maybe I was living life and doing the things that are important, like my job, like my spiritual quest I'm on right now for spiritual direction training that I'm going in with my wife for 2 years, doing the cohort. We're actually getting ready to go to Boston at some point. There's a lot going on in life. And if I have time to drum covers, great, But drum covers I do for me, and I do them for fun. And I am so blessed when you guys get something from my drum covers that helps you take it into your dad band or your band that you're in, and it's a song you needed to learn, and you were able to watch me play it, and you got something from it. Because what I think I bring is I bring my simplicity of how I play into these situations without overcomplicating stuff. So hopefully you get that from my videos. So thank you all for watching, but I just want to say, I got to tell you, YouTube is dead. I've plateaued. I've hit the plateau now. So any more subs that I get from this point forward is in the plateau. It's like, I'm just the old guy now. I'm over 65 and it says, yep, that's it. Blick. There you go. So let's deal with the questions I have for Ask Earl Anything, and I have some really good ones. My first question comes from my last Ask Earl Anything. It comes from Beeswax Minder. I think he might have asked a question once. He said, may I ask you, do you believe that playing drums as a discipline, at least, helps you spiritually? Okay, that's a good question. Does playing drums as a discipline help me spiritually? I think anything you do that's a passion of yours that you spend time in is good. Our spiritual journeys is really about how much we want to seek and know the God of the universe. That's what our spiritual journey is. Some of us are content to deal with our spiritual life just going to church every Sunday. But does that give you a real relationship with God that you want to have? As you get older and you get closer to death and you think about death, by the way, the older you get, the more you will think about death. The less you will think about death is when you're young. So if you're young, you probably turn away right now and say, I don't want to talk about death. I don't want to hear about it. But as you get older, you think about death, you think about the end, you watch people die around you. It changes you. And it makes you want to say, hey, can I know the God of the universe? Well, to know your drumming means you have to apply yourself to get better. That's what you have to do. Practice. Work on rudiments. Sit behind the kit. practice the licks you want to learn, play with other musicians, listen to lots of music. All these things are disciplines that will help you to grow. Same thing spiritually. If you want to know God, you read the Word, you go to church, you fellowship with those that are also seekers. You get with people that seek. And if you get with enough people that are seeking God, and you're praying, and you're reading the Word, and you're fellowshipping with those that are seeking God, all of a sudden your relationship starts to grow, and that is a discipline. So do the disciplines in our life help us to get closer to God, get spiritually? I think they do. But the starting point for any of your disciplines is a passion for what you're doing. And that spiritual passion comes when you realize something about yourself and your need to know the Maker. I've told this story before. I'm going to tell an abbreviated part of this story. When I was 10 years old, I used to play baseball in a cemetery behind my house, the street my house was on. I played baseball in that cemetery because that was an open field and they let us play there. You know, I drive by high schools and grammar schools today, and every one of them's got fences around them and locks on them, and you can't get in them unless somebody's there because they're afraid of getting sued. But back when I was a kid, you could play in an open field and nobody worried about it, by the way. The cemetery owned this big open field that they were going to put graves one day, and by the way, the graves are all there now. They're all filled up where I used to play baseball. But when we were kids, there were really no graves there. Maybe one or two would pop up every once in a while, where somebody bought a grave and they ended up being in that section and they popped one in. But it didn't stop us from playing baseball because there wasn't enough of them to be hanging around that we were going to run into. You know what I'm saying? Playing baseball in a cemetery taught me something, that I understood that death happens to people, and I was aware of death. And that right there was one of the things, was a key indicator for me wanting to get to know God at a young age. Because I knew death happens. Even though I didn't have parents that died, I knew that. But I heard enough stories about my parents having parents that had parents that died. So I worried about that as a kid. That drew me to a relationship with God at a young age. And that was the starting point. So you have to have the passion for the discipline, just like the passion for drums. You know, if you have a passion for playing drums, it's because you wanted to do something with it. I had a passion for playing drums as a teenager, starting at 15, and by the time I was in college, I was studying music, and when I got out of college, I wanted to play music. And what made me build a recording studio when I was 40 years old or 39 years old? 35, I was trying to build a studio in my house. I did. I built the walls. And by the time I left New Jersey at 38 and 39, I had built an ADAT studio. And this studio kept going because I thought I was going to record albums and I was going to work in the studio. That's what I wanted to do. Did I ever make a living at it? No. Did I play on albums? Yes. Did I work on a lot of demo projects? Yes. Did I do a lot of custom albums? Yes. Did I engineer? Did I produce? Yes, I did those things. Did I make a lot of money at it? No. How do you measure success? Not by money, by the way. It's by your passion. Did it stoke your passion? So when I play drums on camera for YouTube, it's me just using those skills. The reason why my songs sound pretty good and the drums sound good is because I've been recording drums for 25 years. I totally know how to do this now. I figured it out. And it's not rocket science. And by the way, it's not as hard as people think. You know, it's just pointing a mic to the center of the drum somehow and then taking it inside the box and playing with it. Anyhow, do disciplines of drumming help me with my spiritual life? Yes. I think one of the things that also helps me with my spiritual life is the creative process that's in me, that I'm being a creative and thinking like a drummer, like a creative musician. I think that also helps. But that's a very interesting question, and thanks for asking it, Beeswax Minder. My next question comes from Philip R. This was, I don't even know what the song was. This was, I think it was one of the Steely Dan things. It might have been Deacon Blues. He said, I'd say you did Bernard Purdie rather well. Great job, bravo. And I thanked him. I think I copied this to bring into Ask Earl Anything for one reason. when somebody tells me I copied that drummer pretty well, I'm blessed by it. I really am. I used to have a guy that followed a lot. I don't know where Merv Griff is these days. Mervyn Griff. One day I will tell you who Mervyn Griff is. Not today. When I know he's not here anymore, I will mention it if I'm still doing this show at that point in time. A couple of you, my friends, know who Mervyn Griff is, but I'm so blessed to have Mervyn Griff would basically say this was this drummer, it was that drummer, because I knew he was a serious musician and he was watching my silly videos, and that blessed me. I am always blessed when people see something that somebody I learned from. Bernard Purdy has definitely been an inspiration in my life. There's no doubt about it. Bernard's up there with Steve Gadd and Ed Green and Rick Marotta and Jeff Porcaro and Jim Gordon and Hal Blaine. These are guys I've been inspired to play. Danny Serafin, So when somebody mentions Bernard Purdy, I'm just kind of blessed by that. So thank you for saying something as nice as that on a song like Deacon Blues, which Steely Dan stuff is just such pocket. And getting that vibe, it's getting that vibe. I just love playing that music because it's just such pocket music. All right, my next question comes from Brent3760. Thank you, Brent. I appreciate you following. He says, do you ever use splashes? I use some, but I haven't for some time. I was thinking about getting an 8 and a 10. What's your thoughts? I love splash cymbals. By the way, this over here is a 12-inch Paiste splash. I got 2002. I picked this up in Pittsburgh when I saw my friend Pat O'Donnell. We went to the Hawthorne Drum Shop in Pittsburgh. I picked it up for a good price, and I brought it home in my bag. That's the last splash cymbal I bought. But I have about 4 Paiste splash cymbals. I have a PST7 10-inch. I've got an 11-inch Noiseworks splash, which comes from the Noiseworks series, and I've got a PSTX 10-inch whole splash. So I got those. And then I got a Zildjian 8-inch splash that I've had forever that's cracked. I've got a 7-inch HHX Evolution splash that's cracked. Still playable though. It's got cracked on the edge. Got a 10-inch AA splash. An 8-inch AA splash Sabian that's in good shape still. I got some bell cymbals. I got a Paiste 6-inch bell that Kelly Cusimano gave me. KM Ken drum, and an 8-inch accent cymbal. They're very interesting cymbals too. And then I got a Wuhan 6-inch wacky splash that my friend Dan from DMR Drums, I traded one of the accent cymbals with. So I love splashes. They're fun to have on the kit. I just tend to set my kits up to what I'm going to hit and not hit. Even having this here is kind of an anomaly because I probably won't hit it for but one song. I used it on a Michael W. Smith song recently. It's a pretty cool cymbal. I love splashes, Brent. Have fun, have at them. I like to put 2 right in the front. I like playing, I've done some Police songs. I've had 4 splashes. That's kind of cool. So, but the 12 is almost a small crash. It's a little weird, but I like it together with the effects. They kind of go together. They sound kind of cool together. So, all right, another one from Brent. Same Brent3760. Earl, with your style of kits that you have, which would be your choice if you only had to choose one, including cymbals included, and why? Thanks. Well, my kits are big. That's the first thing. I think if I only had one kit, it would be this Gretsch walnut kit. This is my college kit. I've got an 8x8, an 8x10, an 8x12, a 9x13, a 14x14, and a 16x16. If I could only have one snare drum, it would be my Ludwig Black Beauty 5x14. I would hope I could have at least 3 or 4 or 5 or 11. I like having 11 snare drums, by the way. My favorites are my Black Beauties, but my DMR 6.5 by 14 cast aluminum is a great drum. My Noble Cooley 5-inch solid shell, great drum. Love the drum. The Walnut DMR solid shell walnut drum with the reinforcing rings. Great sounding drum. I have great drums. All the drums I have are excellent, and it took me years to get it dialed into where I've got them. I've got a couple signature drums, an Omar Hakim and a Steve Jordan, but to be honest, they sit on the shelf more than anything else. My 1980s $20 Ludwig Acrolite gets more play than my Steve Jordan these days, or the Omar Hakim. So I'll just be honest. I love 14-inch drums versus 13-inch drums. I had a 10-inch popcorn snare that I gave to a friend, one of my son's friends actually, who helped me on with some computer stuff. So yeah, this kit. This kit does it all. This can do it all. Double-headed kit, you can always take the bottoms off if you want concert toms. Do I like having a concert tom kit? Love it. And am I happy I got a concert tom kit? Yes, I am. It's kind of one of the things I wanted in life was a concert tom kit. I wanted it from the time I was a kid. I used to look at the Ludwig catalog with the Octa Plus, the Blue Vistalite Octa Plus, and then the Carmen Appice Walnut Cortex Octa Plus that was in the 75 catalog. I had like 3 or 4 of those. I still have one of them. It's in pretty bad shape. But that Octa Plus kit, love it. Always loved that kit. So having an Octa Plus is awesome. All right, next question. This was on Mandy by Barry Manilow. Yes, I did a Barry Manilow song. I've done a lot of Barry Manilow songs. I do Barry Manilow and the Carpenters. Those are songs I just love. I do all kinds of weird songs like that. Those are some of my favorite songs to play, actually, to be honest. This was Mandy. I think I did a great job on Mandy, too, by the way. His name is Enrico Bertolietti. Enrico Bertolietti. He said, Mr. Bennett, what do you think technically of Miss Anika Niles? Thank you, sir. EAB. Anika Niles, congratulations. Another great drummer. Congratulations for getting the Rush gig. What do I think of Anika Niles? I think she's awesome. She's one of the best drummers out there, you know? She's got all the technical abilities, all the chops, all the coordination. I mean, she is otherworldly. She's like Thomas Lang, otherworldly. You know, I don't say I love Thomas Lang's playing because Thomas Lang is otherworldly. Thomas Lang can just play a groove if he has to. I don't know if you know this, but I believe he played on Mozart Amadeus, that song, that crazy song from the 80s. I think he was the one who played drums on that. That does not seem like a real technical song for somebody like Thomas Lang to play. But he played on it. He was a session drummer in Austria at the time. But he has incredible chops, Thomas Lang. Is Thomas Lang my favorite drummer? No, because I'm not a chops guy. Even Dave Weckle's tough, and I love Dave Weckle. I love Vinny. Love Vinny to all pieces. I love Vinny Colaiuta. I think he's the greatest drummer. Probably one of the best drummers in the world. But he's got so much chops, he's above my head as far as most of it goes. But when he plays a pocket, sometimes it is so deep and rich, it's not even funny. Dave Weckle can do that. So can Anika Niles. So can Thomas Lang. Nate Smith, I mean, gosh, want to talk about pocket drummer and plays crazy stuff with a small kit? Awesome. I don't know if you ever watched this other kid. I forget his name now. He plays with that chick. Just the two of them as a duo. Those two are out there. They're so far out there. It's not even funny, but he's really cool to watch. Mark Juliana, very cool to watch. There are so many great drummers. I don't even know what to say. There are so many great drummers out there. Just incredible drummers today. I'm just honored people watch me playing drums on YouTube, because there's so many guys out there that I'd rather watch than me. It's not funny. But yeah, Anika, great job. Congratulations. All right. This one, I don't even know if Matthew Jackson really wanted me to say it. CCM drummer. This is CCM drummer, okay? He asked me a question. He said, hey, what do you think of drum sheds? Have you ever participated in one? Now, a drum shed, in the gospel drummer terms, is when a bunch of gospel drummers get together and they throw licks at one another. I used to call that trading fours, you know. I have a video of my grandson and I when my grandson was younger than he is today. By the way, my grandson is very creative playing this game now. We play this little game where we do 8s back and forth or 4s back and forth. I'd play a groove and play a fill on 4 beats, and he'd play a groove and play a fill in 4 beats. I've been playing with him with that since he was like 8 years old. That's one of the ways I teach kids, is sit down and play with them and ask them to use the things that I'm showing them in fills, and I have fun with it. That's a form of shedding, by the way. When I have friends come over, I'll set up another kit and we'll play together. Just grooves, you know. Like, I don't know if you just saw the new Steve Smith, Jack DeJohnette Sonar video. I just watched it before I got on camera here. Well, in true Ask Earl Anything fashion, like the old days, the camera storage just went down, and my last 2 questions got cut off. So, I'm going to answer the last 2 questions of Ask Earl Anything for the second time. The first one I wasn't even sure was a question, to be honest. This is from Matthew Jackson, CCM drummer. He said, Earl, what do you think of drum sheds? Have you ever participated in one? Now, I gave an elaborate answer to this, by the way. This is going to probably be shorter, much more concise, because I've had a chance to talk about it one time. That's the one thing I learned. The last show, I did the whole show over. So I'm just happy to be doing 2 questions. So, here we go. Drum shedding is a term that goes with gospel drummers. Gospel drummers do these things called having a shed. Let's do a shed. They get in a shed or a garage, they set up a bunch of drum kits, and they all play together and they jam together. Have I ever done a gospel drum shed? No, I'm not a gospel drummer like in that sense. Just playing lots of stuff. But have I gotten a room with a bunch of people and jammed out? Yes. I do that periodically in here. I have my grandson. We did this a couple years back before he was really good. He's actually really good now. We're gonna have to do one together one day, and he'll play and we'll play together, trading stuff. That's what a shed is. It's basically trading licks. Like, you say, all right, let's set a format. We play a groove and play a groove, and then we'll do a fill at the 4th bar, and then you do a fill at the 4th bar. Or you do 4 bars, and you do 4 bars. You do 8 bars, you do 8 bars. Back and forth. That's what a drum shed is. Have I ever done it? Yes, but I've not called it a drum shed. And I usually do it with 2 drummers in my studio playing my drum kits. So Matthew Jackson really was trying to get at, he'd like to do a drum shed. So maybe we'll record Matthew Jackson and I doing a drum shed. Maybe we won't. No guarantees on that one at this point. But the idea of doing a drum shed, he'd like to do it with 3 drummers. He'd like to do it with 4 drummers. I don't really think 4 drummers are going to work in here because one of the things you need is line of sight. You got to be able to see each other. If you can't see each other, it's a lot harder. So when I do it with people, I usually remove cymbals so I can see and we can look at each other and kind of nod towards one another. But have I ever done a drum shed? Yes, but not in the terms of the guys from Berkeley Gospel Drum Shed series. I don't know if you ever looked it up on YouTube, but look up Gospel Drum Shed. And you'll find all these great drummers just blowing licks together. Goes back to the Anika Niles and the Thomas Lang question, answer a few minutes ago. If you like that thing, then you watch guys doing it. That's not really my thing to watch, but it's kind of fun to play. Now, I have no chops. That's the problem. So my chops are limited chops. I have chops I've developed that are my chops, but I don't consider myself having chops. But it's good to get with players that are better than you so that you can really chop out a little bit and learn stuff. There's also opportunities to kind of learn. So, great question, Matthew. I'm not sure you want me to ask this on Ask Earl Anything. Yes, we will try to pull something together. I just don't know how that's going to work. We'll see how it works. But that's time. All right, that was quicker than I answered it the first time. And now here's the second part, the second question. This was I Was Made for Loving You, Earlisms. This is my Earlisms track where I played a lot of stuff. Maybe I'll share some of those Earlisms on this video. This comes from Sunrise Blues 5150. He said, I know you're a Gretsch guy, Earl, but what's your opinion on vintage Tama, 80s Tama Superstar drums? Ever play one? Pros and cons. And one more thing, what's your thoughts on brass versus aluminum? And what's your experience and which one should I get? Thank you. I don't think I saw the should I get part last time. I will give you recommendations at the end of this. Vintage Tama Superstar drums are great. Love them. Birch drums. If I could have a set, I would. If somebody gave me a set, I'd have them. Will I go out and buy any more drums? I don't think I'm going to buy any more drum kits because of the cost of drum kits right now. By the way, the cost of drums is out off the wall right now. So I don't know how anybody buys drums today. But I'm a lot more frugal now in life. When you're younger, you tend to find ways to spend money, when I buy something, it's just me. I want to have something like this last crash. A PSTX 18-inch medium. Beautiful cymbal, by the way. Love it. It's not replacing my 20, but my 20's got a crack in it, so it's nice to have one that doesn't have a crack. It looks kind of cool. But yeah, I think Superstar drums are great. Famous guys using them that I remember, Lenny White. My favorite kit was Lenny White's blue aquamarine Superstar wood kit. Beautiful. I love the maple looking Superstar kits. By the way, Neil Peart had a Superstar kit when he played Tama. For that short season he played Tama. Those were beautiful drums. Simon Phillips played Superstar drums. A lot of guys did. Great drums. If you can find a Superstar kit from the 80s, buy it. Not the new Superstars. I'm not talking about the reissues. I'm talking about the real deal. There's something about the real deal that they're worth buying. Now, snare drums. I love aluminum and I love brass. My favorite snare drums, like I've said before, are Ludwig Black Beauties. They are brass. I have 2 of them. I have a 5x14, that's my favorite, and I have a 6.5x14 on this kit right now. That sounds really good. Another favorite drum of mine. I prefer brass over aluminum, but I have a beautiful DMR cast aluminum drum that is the same cast shell that they use for the Gretsch cast aluminum drums. So if you bought a Gretsch cast aluminum drum, it sounds the same as that drum. Except that's got the powder coating on it that my friend Dan did at DMR Drums. By the way, when he was building that drum for me, and it was built for me, it's called the Hammer. That particular DMR cast aluminum drum had a little scratch. It came home in a bag from... The bottom line to it was, this was made in the same factory. The Paiste drum was made, the DW shell was made, the Gretsch shell was made. They just put different hardware on. I think that drum's got hardware that looks a lot like the Paiste hardware. Or the other drum, which was, what's it called? There's a Chinese manufacturer, drum manufacturer. It's like Ming drums. They made a cast aluminum drum too in those factories. So that cast aluminum drum's got a history. It goes back to 2008. I've had that drum since it was built. I'm the first cast aluminum drum by DMR Drums was mine. And that's a long story I've told many times too. So check it out if you want to find it. As far as snare drums go, I love aluminum snare drums. I've had Ludwig's, a bunch of them. I have an acrylite. I still play a lot. Great aluminum drum. But my favorite is brass. I would always recommend a Black Beauty. I do have a Gretsch brass, chrome over brass snare drum, which sounds completely different than a Black Beauty, by the way. Most of the Japanese drums, the pearl drums, sound completely different than Black Beauties. I think Black Beauty's got some other kind of funk on them. So I would recommend a Black Beauty to anybody. They are getting more expensive. The Black Beauty brass I like better than the phosphorus bronze, by the way. I had a phosphorus bronze, and I traded it for that Black Beauty, that 5x14. And I would trade it again, because that 5x14 Black Beauty is probably my most favorite drum to use in the studio, without a doubt. It just sounds great. This drum sounds great too. So does that cast aluminum. I love my Noble Cooley, solid shell Noble Cooley. I love my DMR solid shell walnut drum 7x14. I have some great snare drums. Matter of fact, I have such great snare drums. I haven't bought a snare drum. I don't think I've bought a snare drum in a long, long time. It's over 10, 15 years now. I've been using the same drums. I think the last drum I got was that acrylite. And it was my friend Ken came in one day and said, hey, you need an acrylite. After he heard me tell a story about my acrylite, I tore it apart and turned it into a tamale and then threw it on the curb back when I lived in Asbury Park, New Jersey. But that's another story for another day. Anyhow, that's the stories. That's Ask Earl Anything. Thanks for the question. Sunset Blues 5150. I really appreciate it. This will make it onto the show. Second time around. A little bit shorter than I did the first time probably. A little different than the last time I did it. But anyhow, thanks for watching. Remember, your questions make the show. Without your questions, I don't have a show. Ask Earl Anything will last as long as you guys want it. And when it doesn't happen anymore, you'll know it's because the viewership's dropped and you guys don't want it anymore. And that's okay. Just like I said at the beginning, YouTube I do for fun. That's all I'm doing it for. So, take care, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.